Now, starting the test drive in this CR-V EXL, this does have an all-wheel drive system, but the system is not meant to engage unless the vehicle senses that you're needing the additional traction. So if you're, believe, driving in snow or whatever it is, if it feels the need to engage, that's when it does. And I feel like that's a good thing and a bad thing depending on what kind of driver you are. I think most people drive their vehicles like, I don't even know how to describe it. I guess like a front wheel drive car or rear wheel drive car. People tend to lose traction and then they don't know what to do while they're doing it. So for those kind of people, I feel like this is a good system, because while you're sitting there flooring it and the vehicle's wheels are spinning, then it'll sense, okay, they need help. Let me go ahead and engage this rear differential. But if you're actually putting yourself in a certain situation, I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing that, because you're then trusting the vehicle to do something and it's just kind of going second by second as it's feeling the terrain. It doesn't know if, hey, you're about to take it on a trail, or hey, you're about to do that. So it's not meant for off-road driving. It's meant for traction when you need it. Now, if you're going off-road, let's say you're trying to go to a campsite or something and you get stuck, will it help you out there? I believe it's supposed to, but I wouldn't trust it. I'd rather have a four-wheel drive vehicle or an all-wheel drive vehicle, like maybe a Subaru that's always in all-wheel drive mode, to go ahead and do that. Or when you can actually put into a certain drive mode to activate the all-wheel drive. Here you don't have any buttons. It just kind of lights up when it tells you, or there's a button that lights up on the gauge that tells you, hey, I'm in all-wheel drive mode. So when you get one of these, it's really a front-wheel drive car. But I just wanted to explain that. I kind of went off on a tangent. But anyways, I like how this drives. And I was surprised that I liked how it drove, because I've driven several CR-Vs, and specifically in the past few years when they put the 1.5 turbos in them, this 2.4 naturally aspirated is actually a pretty good engine in terms of just power output. I think a lot of that has to do with it just being a 5-speed automatic transmission, but the way this is paired up is actually a great setup, and it will probably make for a longer lasting powertrain. Just having 5 speeds in the transmission and then having a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. And that's what you expect out of those typically 300,000 to 400,000 mile, heck, without even thinking about changing the oil, Hondas. I've seen several of them. I don't know how they keep running. Now obviously you have to change the oil, but I know people who go like 20,000 miles and like, oh, I forgot to change the oil. And the thing just keeps running. They're good cars for what they're made for. You still have to take care of them, but you just don't have to take care of them like you probably do a Chevy or a Ford. Like you miss an oil change and all of a sudden you hear knocking. These don't tend to do that. They're just known as being solid vehicles that are pretty cheap if you're just looking for normal transportation with pretty good gas mileage that'll last you after you pay the car off. But again, driving dynamics, I like the ride on that kind of edgy road that I take for this loop was a lot more impressive than I was expecting. And it's because a lot is not intruding in here. Even though it's a little bumpy, it's still driving relatively smoothly. Now brake pedal, you have to give that a little bit of pressure, just how these brakes are made, but a lot of people, especially RAV4 buyers or I guess Rogue buyers, Nissan Rogue buyers, they'll appreciate that. Let's give it some throttle here. Dogs running around. Now, not a speed demon, but pretty good acceleration for this kind of engine getting on the interstate here. Then we have our cruise there right at 70 miles per hour. And again, ride quality is pretty solid. I'm feeling just a little, and I mean a tad bit of shake in the steering wheel here, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then as I hit the brake pedal there, just a little bit of vibration. I mean just a little bit. But again, if you're looking for inexpensive transportation, I'll leave a link below in the description. I'll try to include the price. I think this is right. I don't even want to hold myself to that. It's definitely under $15,000, I think. I remember looking at the pricing and man, that's kind of cheap for this car. So whatever it is, it's priced pretty well. Because again, you get just a good driving vehicle, but if you want to take it 1,000 miles or take it on a really long road trip, you're able to do that and get pretty good gas mileage. On the MPG meter here doing 72, I'm right at 37, 38 miles per gallon just cruising here. Pretty flat and level terrain. And then I start to incline a little bit, it goes down about 32. But sound acoustics in here, I'm barely hearing the wind noise. Road noise is not prevalent. If I listen for the tires, I can hear them, but I really can't. I feel like most of the sound is actually coming from the AC vents in the engine itself. But to end it all, it's a pretty good piece of transportation, and it's meant to be cheap. So it's cheap to operate, usually cheap to fix, and usually cheap to get in one. But they tend to last you a pretty good while. But another huge shout out to John Roberts Nissan for allowing me to review this SUV today. And this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2013 Honda CR-V EXL.